everybody, and welcome to the Weekend Big Show, powered by Lawdog Sports. I am Chuck Ramsey, the Lawdog, here with you on a beautiful Friday in the Great Plains and Great Southwest. Hot, some rain, a little bit of a cool front coming through, and to kind of relieve that awful muggy mess that we had going on in the first parts of the week. And Jeremy Schroeder, my partner of Low this many years, joining me. Jeremy, how's your week been, friend?
Man, you talk about the weather. I think as I'm getting older that it's just really kicking my butt every single day.
Isn't
Just
that
feel
what you did?
tired.
Did you ridicule me a little bit about that back in the day?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's happening. It's
I
happening.
tell you that 6 years that you and I worked in the same locale, and I was wearing that gun belt on the regular, the damage it did to my hips and lower back is, of course, weight gain is thrown in there as well. You've been a lot more fit than I have been. So, but anyways, I tell you, Jeremy, it is a lot of stuff to get into today on the Weekend Big Show. And we've got Game 5 coming up at the Frost Bank Center in San Antonio tomorrow night, and then a recap of the craziness in Game 4. A couple of super sky points, as a online handle mentions it, for the state of Oklahoma in Stacey King and Bob Simmons. We'll talk about that. And then also some bulletin board material coming from the University of Texas at San Antonio, or at Austin, from Colin Simmons, the All-America edge rusher. And then also OU baseball getting underway in the College World Series this weekend in Omaha. And so much going on, but I tell you, I knew that this week, just with so much stuff and content, that we would be remiss for not reaching out to our good friend Ryan Hyatt from the Raiderland.com and Ryan Hyatt Media on Twitter. Does a daily broadcast on YouTube. Let's go ahead and bring him in. And he's a moderately cool old guy from time to time. There's a lot of different handles he's got. Tell us what you got on there today. I just see old guy.
I see it. It's the old guy who covers Texas Tech.
Yeah, there you go. So
we
appreciate
it up. It says, say something about yourself. All right, old guy who covers Texas Tech. And by the way, congrats to the Sooners getting back to Omaha. Larry Koshell doing a great job with that team. Excited to see what Jose Montenegro.
They just got to keep him off TV.
It's going to be a fun one to watch.
Some of his players aren't like those other ones. He's one of the good ones. So
yeah.
Wow.
Not my words, his. But yeah, the days of Sonny Galloway and Larry Koshell have passed over, and Skip Johnson withstood the high offer from the Aggies and stayed in Norman, and really has his team on a heater. We were kind of talking about that, but I tell you, Ryan, you're not going to get off the hook, because the news out of the 806
that's right
is just frequent and flowing. And I'll just say this, and we'll open up the comments as well, and I will moderate them, because I really won't accept any real Texas Tech abuse on this program, because while me and Jeremy are OU fans and we're longtime OU supporters, we were on the radio in Seymour, Texas, and so we covered Texas Tech for the good folks down there in the Texas Rolling Plains. I'm never going to bash or beat up on Texas Tech. I can't say a lot of Sooner faithful feel the same, but I kind of take it what it is, and sometimes it's good to see the kid who's been pushed in the locker, get in the weight room and start pushing back. So, but you've had a busy week on your daily broadcast. Talk about what it's been like dealing with all of this stuff surrounding Brendan Sorsby.
Yeah, it's been an interesting month this week. From the Monday morning release, and we thought that ruling would come down fairly quickly. Nobody thought that Sorsby would be ruled eligible to play with only a 2-game suspension. I mean, those who thought he might somehow get out of it with 6 games or something like that, was maybe the most hopeful. And even there, from a legal standpoint, I was being told that really the judge in this situation, a retired judge out of Fort Worth, which people now, I guess, call a suburb of Lubbock or something like that, but, that he really didn't have the wherewithal. The only thing that was being asked to do was a temporary injunction on the eligibility, not the punishment. And I think a lot of people were very surprised that there was a punishment aspect, as opposed to just, okay, the eligibility denial of eligibility stands, he can't play. Or you get the stay, you get the temporary injunction, and he can play. But entering the penalty on that really, I think, may have opened up a can of worms. We're going to find out on the expedited appeal. And then, of course, Texas Tech begins making their statements, and everybody makes statements, and the Big 12 is going to kick Tech out, and Georgia's not going to play Tech. And darn, that Tech-Georgia series that we've all been waiting for, I guess we put that on the back burner. And then the Big 10, now I can't go to East Piscataway, New Jersey again.
Oh, God.
But by the end of the week, Texas Tech had become the most powerful program in the history of the NCAA because, according to people I'm seeing, only Texas Tech can save the integrity of the NCAA, and only Texas Tech. Yeah. So it's been a fascinating week. And my take on it, just so everybody knows where I stand on the situation, and I said this early in May when this story broke, I don't think Brendan Sorsby should be able to play college football anymore. He touched the third rail. He did the one thing we all know we can't do. You can't bet on your own sport. You can't bet on your own team. Doesn't matter whether you're playing in the game or not. You can't do it. You do it, you're done. That's it. That's the end of the story for me. Everything else devolves downstream from that. So I don't want somebody listening to this thinking it's some Tech homer who, wants Sorsby to play. No, I don't think he should play college football anymore. And if the NCAA can't enforce this rule, then the NCAA is done.
Oh,
we've been saying that on this show for a while. They're toothless. They've lost the thread.
Yeah.
And what's the timeline on the appeal? Because I've heard after the season.
Yeah. So this goes to what they call an interlocutory appeal that the NCAA have filed immediately. The original court date in this, and still standing when this would supposedly, go into a courtroom and be heard, is February 8th, obviously well after the season. The NCAA is coming back and saying, hey, what's the point? Then it's not a temporary injunction. You've decided the case. It's over. He's gone. He never plays again anyways. He's out of eligibility. So they immediately filed that appeal. In Texas, it goes under an expedited. We could see the 7th in Amarillo look at this, I think, within the next couple of weeks. I would say a 2-week window is fair, that it will be looked at, not necessarily on the merit of argument in this case, because both sides basically stipulated to the same facts, that there really wasn't a disputing of what happened. It was merely, is this punishment just, for lack of a better, boil it down, is this good punishment or not? It was the punishment that they were arguing, not did Sorsby bet? Did he violate NCAA rules? Did he violate Big 12 rules? So the judge then, within the next couple of weeks, could come back and do a couple of things. He could just say, okay, hey, you created a mess down there, but we're going to let it stand, and that's it. And that's, at that point, that issue would be done. He could also come back and say, no, none of this looks right. We're going to go back to the original before the temporary injunction and say he's no longer eligible. And then if you want to play this out in court, seeing that flips it the other way, then Jeffrey Kessler, Sorsby attorney, will come back and say, well, now this is irreparable harm. It'll be over by the time we hear it, and we've got a mess. The other wild card on this is the NCAA could come back and file their own suit, and they would do that in federal court, not state court, and pursue whatever it is that they would try to pursue to block Sorsby from being able to play.
Ryan.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I was just going to say one more thing. Texas Tech has not been a part of any of the legal wrangling at this point on behalf of Sorsby at all. They turned him in ineligible on May 22nd, immediately filed for reinstatement. It was denied immediately. They appealed the denial, and that's what the NCAA came back with last Friday to Texas Tech and said the appeal is denied as well. I totally believe Texas Tech thought they were done with it at that point, that there was no way this judge was going to rule that he could play. Tech washed their hands. We did all we could. Good luck in the supplemental draft.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden everybody's holding a baby that nobody wanted.
Well, and, I read Bill Connolly's Big 12 preview yesterday. He's high on Texas Tech, and by all means he should be. I mean, his SP Plus system has them, at the top of the Big 12, and that's even without Sorsby playing into effect. But I'll say this, and this is where I look at it. Two things. Jeremy and I witnessed some similar things with the Owen Heineke case in Norman,
right,
where the NCAA didn't fill out the proper paperwork, or they filled out their paperwork incorrectly. So, I mean, you're dealing with a fairly inept organization in some manners. But then also the mental health aspect of it, and then also getting into the hypocrisy of a lot of the things that we see with regards to the NCAA and college sports. You know, you're dangling gambling websites in constant advertisement in front of young people and expecting them not to partake. I mean, the whole goal is for them to partake so that the NCAA can cash in, you know, advertising dollars. But then also, and I kind of took this from the video release from President Chovanec and then Kirby Hocutt and Coach McGuire. You know, I may think it's chintzy. I've dealt with this with regards of my former career. You know, PTSD, ADHD, mental, you know, anxiety things, mental health. We're beyond the days where you can take those things lightly. And if somebody does fall on their sword and says, "Hey, I have a problem," you're pretty much bound to say, "Well, we're on the hook to help you with that." What's your take on these things that I kind of listed out?
You know, I think we have to get to a point where we can say multiple things can be true at the same time. There is rampant hypocrisy within college sports, professional sports, however you want to say it, but we'll confine it to college sports. Rampant hypocrisy across all levels, and that includes Texas Tech. But it's also true that Brendan Sorsby knowingly violated the one thing you can't do, and that there can still be punishment, even if he does have a gambling addiction, that he can still receive treatment, but there can still be punishment. We have people in jail all over that have substance abuse issues, that have committed crime. And, you know, somebody would say, well, he didn't commit a crime. Well, actually he did. When he was betting underage, he was committing a crime. And I still have this odd feeling that the FBI is just sitting in the background waiting for all the facts to come out and other people do their work for them. And they go, oh, by the way, here's an indictment on this. Meanwhile, all of these things can be true, but it still means to me that the NCAA has to have the ability to have this rule in effect. I liken it to this. And this is where I get into arguments sometimes with people who don't understand sports betting or otherwise and how things work out. One of the biggest reasons that rule is put into place is because it helps keep student athletes from being compromised. It actually protects the student athlete from people coming after them and trying to get information and use them, not just the student athlete betting, but to be manipulated. The minute a student athlete, as they said on South Park,
student athletes,
the minute they start engaging in breaking that rule, they open themselves up to all sorts of issues that they don't even realize at the time. So one, that rule protects them, but two, we punish all the time people who do things, even though we know that they have conditions that cause them to do it, but there still has to be a punishment phase. Now, if you want to say that a lifetime ban should not be the punishment, we can have that conversation going forward, but that's the ban right now. And if you want
lifetime ban is
the rule, you
only have so much eligibility. Lifetime ban,
yeah. Or show cause.
Show cause for your ninth transfer.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So it's a hell of a mess, and nobody wins in any of this.
Yeah.
Nobody wins.
Yeah.
I mean, are there downstream effects? If Cincinnati knew about the problem, did Indiana know what he was doing? Yeah. I guess the FBI reported it to Tech. Was that gambling's illegal in Texas? Yeah. There's a whole lot.
Oh no, we have the poly market now. That's not gambling. That's just an exchange.
You're just
anyways, by any other name. Yeah.
And last summer, guys, we had the notifications, I guess, that John Mateer, the OU quarterback, had likely placed some bets. That got pretty glazed over. I mean, there was OU came out, said we did our due diligence. We didn't feel it was a problem, and everybody kind of rolled with that.
And was that a Coors Light?
There we go.
Maybe not granted the benefit of the doubt, but so apparently it could have been to a higher level, I guess. But I'll say this to your effect. I think in positions in life where you're the investment in you by your employer, by an entity, an institution, is going to kind of, because there are a lot of people out there that are sitting in jail cells that committed crimes probably because of mental health. They may not have had a 10-figure employer
right,
that was, counting on them to contribute to their enterprise. And I'll say this, same thing with the police department, not that they won't prosecute crimes, but when there are issues, a police department or city entity or government entity has invested so much money in that employee, it takes a lot to say, and especially when there's a contract. But then that opens up that other can of worms. There's no contract, there's no CBA, there's no players union, and there's going to be. We know this.
Yeah, and I think special talent gets special treatment, and Brendan Sorsby is a special talent. When we talk about the hypocrisy, I don't think we're sitting here talking about this if it's a fourth string tight end who's in the exact same situation. I don't think we're not having massive press releases about everything Tech does for, treatment for gambling addiction and standing by, players and family and getting them the help they need. And no, but when you're the starting quarterback on a top 10 team that's expected to win the Big 12, things are different. Well, again, we got enough hypocrisy to go around.
Oh, sure. And having said that, this Sorsby case, would he or anybody, back before the draft, back before you could declare, would he, I guess I'm asking hypotheticals way too much, but to me, in my mind, I think, if I got all this, and maybe it would just totally affect your draft status. I don't know, but if I maybe forego my eligibility, jump in the draft and avoid all this headache for everybody. But I guess that NIL contract that Cody Campbell and Double Eagle were offering is, and I didn't mean that as a slam, I promise.
Yeah.
The allure of NIL money, we see it all the time. In so many cases, it's better than what that player's going to make in the professional ranks.
Let's do the math right now that he's probably still owed. We're just going to say about $4 million right now on the total contract. What's probably been paid out, given how these are typically structured and what he's received so far. So he's got $4 million he's got 4 million reasons to stay at Texas Tech. That if he does go in the supplemental draft, which I still think is a great possibility between now and the 22nd, wow. Or at least declare. I guess if you declare, I don't know. I don't even know what eligibility is anymore, guys. So who knows? But so then you're going from what could have been, you make $4 million this year. You play well enough that you're in. It's a good quarterback draft. So let's say second round, right? So somebody wants to take you in the second round. Now in the supplemental draft, I don't think anybody's going to take him in the second round. I don't think so. Maybe they're sitting there going, could we steal a second round level guy in the fifth with a fifth round pick that we would wager? Fourth round? Well, now that slot money drops down considerable. So you're losing the front end money, back end money in college, front end money in the NFL. There are a lot of financial reasons why that might not play out. But I still think it is if nobody cares what I think, but everybody else is talking about what they think is best for Brendan Sorsby. Everybody else at Texas Tech is saying what they believe they have to do for him because he is a Texas Tech student, and they take care of all students like that second-year law school student that they're taking care of in rehab right now. I'm sure they are, right?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
That if this guy
usually it's the year after you pass the bar that you get into rehab.
Maybe, what if the best situation for Brendan Sorsby is to get off the radar, to go in the supplemental draft, to go to a team that knows they don't have to play him this year? That there's no high pressure, that he can continue to receive the treatment. He can have, pro teams can support you too. Your family can support you no matter where you are. And that he can take a year while still being involved in football without being in the environment that obviously led him or allowed him or he flourished in that this occurred. What if that's the better mental health route? I haven't heard anybody really talk about that.
Well, the financial route would be to stay at Tech, but you're going to have a lot of teams that aren't going to touch him just because of the gambling. We got the Terry Rozier situation still up in the air with the NBA, and they'd get him for a fifth round pick because I don't think there'd be a whole lot of takers right there in the supplemental draft.
Yeah, not expending a high pick. I think somebody would be able to justify, and then they would come out with the same statements Texas Tech is making that we support all of those with addictions. The boilerplate language that
the NFL sponsored by FanDuel,
and this message brought to you by I tried to get screencasts all week of ESPN's coverage, where at the bottom was the FanDuel logo. They're talking about Sorsby. It's the FanDuel logo, and they would scroll, the gambling problem, call 1-800. Yeah. And I'm like, somebody in the back, maybe don't punch that up right now. Maybe that's the one you want up there.
I wonder what the Kalshi odds are on Sorsby playing next season.
I have not even looked. I'm sure that they are.
Well, and let's talk about the Texas Tech, effect here, or the consequences on Texas Tech. They're kind of getting bullied in the media by Tony Petitti and Greg Sankey and all these high and mighty commissioners across the United States. Their own commissioner, Yormark, I think he's kind of been a little bit idle from what I can tell. Maybe, I don't know what's been said on these big conference calls or whatever, but, big Texas Tech, like I said, everything I'm reading, and I want to talk to you about some of their talent acquisition later. But, they are a force in the Big 12 in football, and we know football pays the bills. So, what is the outcome for Texas Tech on this whole deal? I know it's hard to predict, but I'd like to know your take on how you see this affecting, the football program, if Sorsby isn't playing come October.
I think if Sorsby isn't playing, we go back to last year when Will Hammond was looking really good before the injury that sidelined him late. There were a lot of people who wanted Hammond to play over Morton for all of last year, a dual threat quarterback. So let's go back before that fateful 11-yard gain where he tears his knee and say that never happens. You never go get Sorsby. Sorsby was always an insurance policy because you didn't think that Hammond was going to be ready in time. Well, since early May, Tech's been feeding us, information all the time about Hammond ahead of schedule. Hammond could be ready week 1. Hammond could be ready to go. If Hammond's healthy, there is no drop off to me in the regular season. Let's say in the regular season for sure against Big 12 play, him and Sorsby. I think Hammond's a very good college football quarterback.
Yeah.
He can throw it. He can run it. So, to me, then, okay, well, what if we flip back and go, if Sorsby was just an insurance policy for that, can he also be an insurance policy and you don't necessarily have to play him? He can be on the team, I guess, as an insurance, as a backup. All of a sudden we've got a quarterback controversy, right? How do you feel if you're Will Hammond, by the way? How do you feel? He really did rehab.
Yeah.
With weights and pain. Come back and play for you. And, where are the statements for him?
Got a lot of money tied up into Sorsby, though.
Yeah. 2-year deal on Hammond. He got himself a good deal.
I got to say, Joey McGuire saying that Sorsby wouldn't be ready maybe even in week 3, and almost the way it sounded was kind of describing it like it was an ACL. And I thought, well, I don't know.
That was kind of dovetailing to a statement Hokut made, the printed statement, the prepared statement on Wednesday. And in there, paragraph 2, last sentence, it really laid out how Tech could not play Sorsby, even if he's eligible, that he has all these conditions to meet. He has all of these things he has all that they could put in enough poison pills in this theoretically to be able to come back and say, we're still supporting and working with Brendan. We're helping him through his recovery, but he's not yet ready to take the field for Texas Tech.
Yeah. Well, that's a pretty good move. I mean, that's like I said, you can't seem callous or turned off of a player's mental health. It would be a terrible look.
Yeah, not in 2026.
No.
And with that schedule, even in the conference schedule, if he's ready mid-season, I mean, they'll be fine.
I could play 5 of those games at quarterback and Tech would win.
Yeah,
we know for a fact that the Longhorn 2s and 3s could go undefeated because it's been so. We're visiting with Ryan Hyatt from theraiderland.com. He does a daily broadcast on YouTube, Ryan Hyatt's Raiderland, and also at Ryan Hyatt Media on Twitter X. And we follow him, and he's been a friend of our program since back in 2019, I believe, was when we first started getting Ryan on with us in KSCY AM 1230 in Seymour. And I'll say this, part of the reason why, and I'm not going to ding on the schedule, but I mean, this Texas Tech defense has truly been reloaded. I mean, you had players taken in the draft that, I mean, I'm not trying to poke here, but that's pretty uncharted territory.
Yeah.
to have, that many players featured so early in the draft for the Red Raiders, particularly on defense over the past 25 years. But I'll say this, your general manager, Blanchard, that guy, he and Joey McGuire seem to have an eye for talent, and everybody's predicting that it's just a reload, not a rebuild on the Tech defensive side.
Yeah, it's going to be hard to duplicate that front seven entirely, but you get Trey White in there on the edge side, and I think he's really one of the big pickups. Ibrigoda, I never can figure out how to pronounce his name. Really highly sought after defensive lineman again coming in, and then you've got Holmes there in the middle who can really tie some things down. I really like this linebacking core. I think that's going to be the strength this year. I think you're going to be able to see Chill Wood, the defensive coordinator, play some really interesting concept games and blitzes. They've got speed. You get Austin Romaine in from Kansas State. It's not a plug and play for Jacob Rodriguez. He's an off the charts different kind of guy, but you get maybe the next best linebacker you had in the Big 12 the last 2 years, and you put him right there. Ben Roberts, the MVP out of the Big 12 title game, is back, and then Ryan Curry on the weak side. Fast, he's a rangy guy, so he can cover out of the backfield. He can blitz. I think the linebackers are going to be really interesting. You've got some depth now in the secondary. I still think the back end is still the problem. I think if they have to cover too long, they get in trouble. But Pollock back there is going to be a difference maker. And then it's an offensive line with a lot of experience. They want to try to be as old as they can on that offensive line. Everybody does. But you get Sheridan Wilson back at center. You've got interesting Jacob Ponton there on the right-hand side. He started as a freshman last year, and most notably, he jumped off sides every time you got inside the red zone, and people wanted to kill him. I don't think we'll see that as often. He's a really good talent. Now, that kind of experience, the run game should flourish, I think. You've got your two top running backs back in Jacoby Williams and Cameron Dickey. And then the guy they brought in to replace him last year blew out his knee, and Quentin Joyner in August. He's back. You got three running backs, and all three of them, obviously, they're unique individuals, but a really good, diverse talent set. But Joyner may be the best one, and he didn't even play last year.
Yeah, and I noticed that. I started to say, three-headed monster at running back for the Red Raiders, and you run the ball, good things can happen. Is Kirk Francis the third stringer there at Tech?
Yeah. Theoretically, right now, I guess, depending on how you look at it, he would be the backup. Yeah. But if Hammond couldn't play and Sorsby's not available, that he would be the guy who would be going in and starting those first two games, I believe, at this point over Lloyd Jones 3.
And it's not like he doesn't have starting experience.
No, he's got good experience. He looks like he could be a very competent game manager from what we saw. You would not be asking him to do too much in those games. And I have no problem with him, taking those snaps in those first two games.
Yeah. He played under Kevin Wilson at Tulsa, and we hold Wilson in high regard here in the Fort Worth. So Texas Tech, Big 12 favorites, a lot of key players coming back, a lot of talent. High school recruiting, how do you feel about, because the big splashes on social media and things that we hear are always the NIL transfers. What do you think about Joey McGuire and his high school recruiting?
And I don't have the list in front of me. They just got another commit from a guy out of Detroit, I believe. Some guy.
Some dude.
Yeah, kids today.
One
of the top-rated corners, I believe, that's in the country right now. And I think they're trying to have that good mix, that you might not be taking 25 guys like the old days, but if you get the right, say, 17 guys in that do have an ability to make an impact on your roster. Felix Ojo is a lineman out of Georgia that's running with the twos right now. He'll play this year as a freshman offensive lineman. You look at what they tried to do with Micah Hudson, 2 years ago, 5-star recruit out of Temple, I believe, and it didn't work out immediately. But that they're looking for these high school guys that, and I think this is probably the way to go, that you feel like can at least be a part of your two deep, maybe as freshmen. Otherwise, let somebody else develop them. We'll come back and get them later on.
I assume you're referring to Gideon Gash.
Yes. Gideon Gash, all name team. Thank you. How can I forget Gideon Gash?
6'4", 205.
It was also I think he was a 1980s action hero. Did some movies with Arnold.
I do believe that was part of Kindergarten Cop.
Yeah. So
yeah,
the high school recruiting has been solid right now. I think they've got a top 20 class for 27. It's looking like, and of course, that's so far out now, who knows? But they're still trying.
Well, and also, I mean, it helps to tamper, and that's why Cody Campbell was in Norman at Brent Venables camp for this week.
Right.
Come on.
I know. Just saying. But still, he could say hello to somebody. Can't trust.
For those who don't know, Chairman Campbell his son is a fairly highly recruited offensive lineman in his own right, probably better than his daddy was, to be honest, in all things considered at this point in the recruitment process. But yeah, would you not be recruiting Cody Campbell's kid? Every NIL director at every school is telling their head coach, we don't care. He gets an offer.
Yeah.
All right.
Exactly. And I'm sure Jim Nagy's been in contact with the Campbell household there from Norman. And, that's the fun part about it. And, here's the thing. We talk when the three guys that are our age range, and I guess Jeremy would probably be the youngest, but he's not that much younger than me. But we hear the stories and we remember the stories about the Fred Akers and the Barry Switzers and whoever was in the old Southwest Conference and the recruiting wars and things like that. The Trans Ams being purchased, all that stuff. And we look at it fondly. It's like, oh yeah, those days. And then we're like, I can't believe these kids are getting, I mean, it is a lot of money, but the dollar's not worth near what it was back then either.
And just look at how much money is involved in college sports today than even let's go pre-BCS and say pre-1997, pre-1998. It's staggering.
So come selection Sunday in November early, what are they going to do? Early December. Do you feel percentage chance that Tech is in or on the outside looking in?
I think they'll probably be in, barring, hideous injuries or just something unforeseen. That this still is a team that is, they have a schedule that should put them in the Big 12 title game. And they will play a team in the Big 12 title game this year that they did not play a year ago, most likely, which again, we go back to the old data points that would help Texas Tech out. And it would in both ways, that you beat another good team there, or if say you lose to an undefeated fill in the blank, who do we want to go with? BYU? Let's just say BYU for whatever reason.
Yeah.
It won't hurt Tech the way it hurt BYU because you'd only have one loss to said Big 12 team, not two losses to the same team, which they obviously held. So I think we're set up this year either way to get two teams out of the Big 12 into the college football playoff if things go according to Hoyle.
Yep. Looks that way. I know Bill Connolly had Texas Tech at number 7 on his SP Plus, and that's always a good thing. And Tech will now have to deal with being the hunted instead of not the hunter. So looking forward to that.
A small adjustment for a program to make.
Exactly. But it's fun to watch. And like I said, we've always got a little love here for the Red Raider Nation here on Lawdog Sports, the Weekend Big Show. Exit question. What's the plan with baseball in the 806?
Get better talent. And it started back in January or February when Texas Tech announced that they would fully fund the baseball scholarships. That has been the biggest issue the last year and a half, 2 years in recruiting. The NIL budget specifically for baseball is pretty good. It's competitive, even amongst the SEC, ACC. The problem was Texas Tech misread the market on what was going to happen with the scholarship increases. They truly didn't believe that everybody would, not everybody, but all the top powers would immediately go to 30, 34 scholarships. They didn't think it would happen. They thought it'd be gradual. And they rely more on the football marketplace, but that's the problem. Everybody has a scholarship. So let's say I'm Tim Tadlock over the last year and a half. I like this pitcher. I can give you $250,000. Well, the guy's maybe getting $250,000 from an SEC school, but he's also getting a free ride.
Yeah.
At Tech, he's getting 1/10 of a scholarship. They wouldn't even talk to you.
Yeah.
You were undercutting your wage by doing that, and they just could not even get into the house on most. Let's do the math. If 25 programs, 30 programs are full scholarship, let's say they're giving 15 of those to pitchers,
Yeah.
What's 15 times 25?
Yeah.
That's the cream of the pitching that you haven't even been able to talk to for 2 years. And it showed. And the talent has just not been there.
And honestly, Ryan, that's like a Division III issue you would have to deal with or something, or an NAIA. We've got this much money for scholarships. We've got to parcel it out. No, no program should ever have to do that with their athletics, but it happens. But what time are you on the air regular now?
We are 5:30 Central every night on the daily broadcast. We had a focus group work on a name, and they said, well, are you on every day? Yes. Is it a broadcast? Yes. You should call it the daily broadcast. Okay. But we're on Twitter X at Ryan Hyatt Media, Ryan Hyatt's Raiderland on the YouTube channel for free, and Facebook Live as well for all of our older friends who still are on Facebook.
And thanks for acknowledging me when I mean, I really just kind of do it for clicks or for your clicks to make sure you getting good interaction,
Right. And it pays off. It does.
Good. And you've got some great sponsors, I know, and it's great to see you on there. And then also, have we visited since we lost the late great Joe Ely?
I don't think we have.
Okay. Yeah. I took a day and listened to I sat down and had a barley pop and listened to Live at Liberty Lunch that day, and took some time. These, I tell you, I'm an Okie all the way, but these Texas singer-songwriters, when they go, it hits me in the feels. Him and Charlie Robeson, stuff like that. Jerry Jeff, I get hurt. I guess that stems from my time programming KSEY.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, listen, Ryan, thanks so much for coming on and giving us a lot of clarity with regards to this Brendan Sorsby saga and also the outlook for the Red Raiders. And we'll be following you. We'll be listening to your daily broadcast, and we'll be recommending you highly to those who want to know what's going on with sports in the 806, and also some great off topics. I mean, that's what I love about the guys who are doing this that are around about our age. It's not video games and stuff. It's fun stuff. So
yeah, and it's supposed to be fun. This is supposed to be fun.
That's right. Ryan, thanks so much, buddy.
You got it. Thank you all.
Thanks, Ryan.
Take care of yourself. Ryan Hyatt from theraiderland.com joins us here on the broadcast from time to time, and really great for him to take the time today, Jeremy, to visit with us.
Timely poll.
Yeah, and what a great asset to have as far as a friend of the program all this time to really give us that much detail and clarity about things going on down in Lubbock. Well, there's going to be things going on this weekend down in San Antonio. I know that your viewership of the National Basketball Association has been a little bit withdrawn at times during the week because you are gainfully employed. But
I don't even want to know how I watched the game the other night.
Yeah, we probably
you don't, and I can't say it.
Maybe don't go into that.
Yeah.
We did have Dan Narva check in there at the beginning of the broadcast from Michigan. Thank you, Dano, for joining us. Good Friday morning to you as well. I tell you, I've seen a lot of things in basketball. I've seen a lot of crumbles. I've seen, choke jobs, whatever you want to call it. And I've known my whole life that in order to blow big leads, everything has to be perfect for the team that comes back and wins it. And it really was. And the Knicks, I just think about the OG Anunoby tip in. And Jeremy, I said this to my physical therapist yesterday. I hate to say this, but if that's iHeart or Chet getting a hand on that, last second, it's not going anywhere near the going in. I mean,
it's probably going over the top of the back.
Exactly. I mean, the touch that OG had on that to guide that into the bucket. And I'll say this, I've seen Wemby do that too. I mean, in basketball, and it's such a shame because there's guys with just superior touch to get that ball into that hoop, however, whatever. And then there's guys that kind of struggle. I was always one of the guys that struggled. Never got my arm that high above the rim, but still,
no.
It's not like it was a Lorenzo Charles, slam it in off the carom. It was a finesse touch, and it had to be perfect for them to win, and it was.
Well, I mean, there were so many things that just went absolutely sideways for San Antonio. They came out at halftime. We're just going to cruise. They scored 30 points in the second half.
Yeah.
And
bad.
the Knicks came out and got hot, got rolling. I mean, what a game.
Mm-hmm.
The Knicks are going to win a championship.
I'll just say this. And here's a big part of why I can get down with what you're saying. They're saying that 50% of the tickets sold in the Frost Bank Center for Saturday night's game have come from a New Jersey or New York area code.
Yeah, exactly.
So it will be very Knick friendly.
It totally
in San Antonio's home court.
And you saw the I can't think of the entity's name right now, but their ticket managing firm made that happen.
Mm-hmm.
So, the Spurs paid somebody to fritter away their home court advantage. So good on the Spurs.
Who do you want to win this series?
I don't care. I'm still I can't. Wemby's an amazing talent, but he's a dirty player.
He's an amazing punk.
He's an amazing punk. And I can't, as much as I like De'Aaron Fox, he has brain farts,
Hey,
just dribble it out. You get fouled. Go to the line. You got
it was
the shot clock's off.
Play. Yeah, it was a bang play.
I know
it lends itself for him, but I just kind of feel like if he does pull it out and get fouled, makes his free throws, it's still I still feel like the Knicks probably hit a three. You know what I mean?
Well, you saw who was guarding the perimeter on that three that Brunson took.
Yeah.
And then Fox didn't box Anunoby out, so he had a free run down the lane and hit the tip. So a whole lot went wrong.
Oh yeah, and the funny part about it is, and I have, I was in as a Spurs fan, and I put this out on Twitter the other day. This isn't your father's Spurs.
No,
not by a long shot.
They're unlikable.
Yeah, it's hard.
It's tough. It
is very difficult.
Tough. It's tough. They're extremely polarizing, especially Wemby, who the NBA wants him to be the face of the league so bad that they're overlooking calls that should be made flagrant. He should be suspended after the stun he pulled when he hopped, skipped, and jumped and looked like he was gonna, judo kick Anunoby's leg.
Yeah, the straddling of Anunoby's knee. I agree with you. The one player who I can really get into watching during this series for the Spurs, and it's not any of the primary cast, it's a bench player. It's Dylan Harper.
Yeah.
That game is just amazing. He is really, and they pointed out the other night, he took no shots in the fourth quarter. And you're talking about a franchise that has has had the lead in this series every game with 2 minutes left to go in the game.
Yeah, I know.
They just can't finish. I mean, they finished once, but you know what I mean. So I'll say this with the De'Aaron Fox situation, I find it so funny because we know that so many coaches in the NBA are recycled jobs because they are, and with the proliferation of social media and sound bites and clips, so much stuff resurfaces. Have you seen the Mike Brown clip that they're saying, where he was critical of De'Aaron Fox for fouling on a closeout on a 3-point shot against Detroit in 2024? Have you seen that?
I think I've seen a lot of stuff last couple of days.
So to set it up, and for anybody watching who didn't see it, in 2024, the night before Mike Brown got fired by the Sacramento Kings, he went into a press conference after they lost to Detroit. Detroit hit a corner three. De'Aaron Fox closed out, fouled. So the three tied the game, and then I think they won it on a free throw on a 4-point play. He went into his press conference and totally detailed how he said in the timeout beforehand, don't close out. Don't worry about, we can give up all the twos all night. We'll give them the two. Just, be there on the high side. I mean, he laid it out in complete detail. The Kings management felt like he was targeting De'Aaron Fox. Obviously, De'Aaron Fox was under a humongous contract because he's under a humongous contract.
Wait till that extension kicks in.
Oh yeah, I think I mentioned I was on CBS Sports Radio with Jay Swick earlier, and I had it pulled up. I think it's 250 million by 2029.
Yeah, it's going to be one of those contracts that gets moved.
Oh, totally. Kenny McGuire checking in. I like Duncan, Ginobili, and Parker, but these guys make me not like the Spurs. That is completely right. And and I realize there's a lot of people had issue with Ginobili. I mean, he kind of brought Floppy into vogue.
Yeah.
Yeah. But so anyways, the clip is circulating of Mike Brown in that press conference, and the clip is being pointed out as his last post game as the Kings coach. And then you have De'Aaron Fox, like you said, committing a brain fart completely. So it was, and he didn't name Fox. Well, he might have named Fox specifically, but it was a closeout on a corner three. The kid made, who I can't remember who made it, and then he fouled him. So it
probably wasn't a fireable offense, but it's the Kings.
Yeah, exactly. So, it's just one of those things that I look at and say the Spurs are more than talented enough to win this series. They've been more than talented enough to win every game they've lost in this series, but they find a way to lose. And I've given them credit. And like I said, I've been on OKC Sports Radio, KINB this week with Jay Swick a couple of times. I'll give them credit. They really can do so many things, but they just find a way to choke it off at the end. And you got to credit the Knicks for part of that too, but also the Spurs are a young team. I credit them for learning on the fly. I think they learned a lot on the fly in the Thunder series, but this series here it's been wired completely different.
Man, it's a massively talented team. They're well coached. I'm telling you, any other team comes out of halftime in cruise control, wins that game.
Mm-hmm.
But they're so young. They're just inexperienced in clutch moments. They just couldn't finish the job. It was just crazy to watch.
Well,
I mean, it was 15 points going into the fourth quarter. You're still up. You're still good.
Yeah.
And they scored 14 points in the third quarter.
Yeah. 30 for the second half.
That's kind of one of those games where you come out of halftime. The game plan is we're going to slow it down. Wemby's going to live in the post. We're going to feed it inside. We're going to try to get easy buckets, maybe kick out to open shooters. But the shot clock is your friend when you have that big of a lead.
Yeah, it wasn't just that they were cranking up 8 straight threes; they were cranking them up with 15 seconds left on the shot clock,
So that's so dumb to me. It's just like the AJ Mitchell 3 in Game 1 of the Spurs series.
Mm-hmm.
It's over if you just get fouled, but no, you got to fire that 3 up with 20 seconds left on the clock.
Well, so riddle me this: they say that Wembanyama is one flagrant away from ending up suspended. Would it? If he committed a flagrant in Game 5,
he would miss Game 6.
So it's the next game. It's not.
It would not be. They could. I don't think the NBA is going to be able to get away with the time served nonsense again. If he commits another flagrant foul, that'll be 3 in these playoffs, and 3 out of about 15 that could have ruled at least a flagrant one, because they're just letting him do things. Grabbing guys' hair. Kicking.
He's got to change that. I mean,
the thing he did to
Breer.
I get it. You get frustrated because a small guy grabs you. Do not put your hand on his head and shove him to the floor.
No.
That's just awful.
I'll tell you, this Spurs team, and I think it's something that the Thunder had so much issue with, is their guards are just so long and athletic, and
they're physical.
They're physical, and they present such a huge challenge on the boards. So many offensive boards that this team is down,
especially when you're down your third and fourth ball handlers.
Yeah,
it was just too big of a gap to close there.
And that's where I was going to say, kudos to Mike Brown, because it was an extreme gamble on the defensive side, but to throw in Jose Alvarado to help. Is it Jose Alvarado?
Yeah, it was Alvarado, and that's who the flagrant was committed against.
Yeah. Well, and also, no,
was it?
No, it was Cat.
Oh, okay.
It was the forearm. It was the elbow upwards at the chin of Karl Anthony Towns. I think Mitchell Robinson got in his head. He might have been talking smack and bumping his gums, but I think the forearm shiver to the jaw probably did get in his head the rest of the way. But the gamble to throw in Alvarado to assist Brunson with the ball handling, because the Spurs have been, and they did it to SGA. They guard 94 feet. They're at least going to make you have to work to get the ball up the floor. Probably another situation of rest versus rust in a way. Everybody's talking about Wemby not getting a spell. Just the perfect storm,
finals, brother. It's the finals, brother.
Yeah,
You're 22 years old. Suck it up.
Prime athlete. But also, I listened to some guys this week, and they pointed out that maybe limiting his minutes so much in the last end of the regular season wasn't good.
No.
You're trying to save him, but are you really letting him, expand the lungs, so to speak?
Yeah.
I don't know. But anyways, the Frostbank Center will be rocking tomorrow night, whether it's in orange and blue or black and silver. I don't know. The funny thing about it is, Jeremy, and I don't know that this would have happened. It would have been interesting to see if Oklahoma City had made the finals, how it would have played out at the Paycom Center. Money talks. We know that.
Yeah.
Money to be spent within the tri-state area. But the funny thing about it is, and I noticed this in game 2, they didn't have the seat playoff t-shirts in game 2 at the Frostbank.
And I read your tweet at 1:00 in the morning about the fans showing up in 1,000-degree San Antonio heat at the airport, and the Spurs didn't even acknowledge them.
Well, the Spurs were claiming they originated that back when the Thunder were getting some pub on that.
Obviously,
yeah. So
and the drying.
I don't know. Like I said, I don't feel like this is your father's Spurs. I will say
roll out a bison mascot this game.
Oh, somebody was trying to take credit for the big drum.
It was San Antonio.
Was it?
Yeah.
And that goes way back to
2008.
Yeah. That's an OKC original. Like I said,
we stole it from the Chiefs.
Makes it hard to like if they win it all, I won't have that big of an issue with it. I wore a Spurs t-shirt yesterday to my physical therapy appointment just to
get some salty looks.
Yeah. You got a lot of courage wearing that. It's like, well, I go way back, but
but I believe I mentioned this before the Western Conference Finals started, that the team that wins the West is going to be at such a disadvantage going into the finals because that series is going to be a meat grinder.
Oh,
and we're seeing that right now.
Totally. And that's kudos to the Knicks for closing out, a flailing Cleveland team and a flailing Philadelphia team in 4 games. No jacking around with them.
Well,
they went out and handled their business. Well, I'll say this. I feel like New York closes it out tomorrow night.
In San Antonio.
Yeah, just
they better hope they close it out in San Antonio, Chuck, because if they close it out in New York, it's going to look like somebody nuked that city the next morning.
Well, they probably do need to not have to deal with protection issues at the arena for a world championship in basketball coming in to that area. But I'll say this. You can say all the right things in your post game. You can say, we're going to focus on the great play we had, the way we played in the first half, and when we got up 29, and you can focus on, we've had these games. It's been more us finding it. Jalen Brunson really finally had that breakout game the other night. He's gonna feel it. He's gonna probably have his rhythm going. I just think I liken it to that old martial arts movie where the guy, pulls the heart out and shows it to him beating before he dies. I feel like that's what it was. I think anything goes wrong in that game Saturday night and the Spurs could fold.
You think they'll just fold up?
I mean, they're a young team. maybe they've got more mental toughness than that. I know Castle and Vassell, it's that adage, Jeremy, the loudest guy in the room is always the weakest guy in the room.
Yeah.
Vassell does a ton of, and I know they all talk smack, but Vassell's very animated. Castle can be, plays very emotional. And who knows what Wemby they're going to get. He went from having a great game going to a not so great game to having a great half to going to a not so great half. I mean, he's
bounced back every time he's had a hiccup. So I'm sure we'll see until he runs out of gas, unless he runs out of gas again.
And if your true veteran is your point guard who's prone to making terrible mental errors, I don't know.
I know somebody posted that they should have kept Chris Paul.
I if anything, for 3 or 4 minutes a game, or
that hammy would have gone in the West semis.
Yeah, you'd still have him on the bench.
Okay,
who do you got in Game 5?
Huh?
Who do you got in Game 5?
Home team. I think Spurs are going to take it. I'm going to couch that a bit because it's not. If the arena was what we're accustomed to seeing in our neck of the woods, 100%, slam dunk. Spurs are going to it's going to be a walk.
There'll be lots of Knicks fans.
I think it's going to be a great game. I think the Spurs are going to find a way to win. They're going to learn from this. They're a young team. But like you said, any little thing goes wrong, I could see that thing dropping like a house of cards.
Yeah. This is the weekend big show. Chuck Ramsey, Jeremy Schroeder. I'm the Lawdog. He's the ruler of the airways. College football, Jeremy. OU recruiting. Man, they've lost some wide receiver commits as of late. But I thought it was interesting. They get secure a secondary commit, 5-star Gabriel Osborne Jr. from Mustang.
Recently upgraded to 5-star.
Yeah, just got the recent upgrade. Also, Daniel Yebbett. Is that right? Yebbett from UConn, here in my neck of the woods. 6'3", 190, a 4-star. Wasn't invited to the Brent Venables camp.
Showed up. Yeah.
Showed up at 11:30, balled out, I think, and
walked away with an offer.
And walked away with an offer. Had no offers at the beginning. I mean, how, if the kid really is a 4-star, how is he? Maybe the UConn high school football coach needs to work on his promotional.
I'm telling you,
I don't know. He's obviously got recognition. He's a 4-star,
right? That's wild. How, I guess because we're in Oklahoma, and a 4-star is like a Texas 5, something like that. I don't know.
Sure.
He had to have offers. I'm going to go to his 24/7 page right now because I find that a little hard to believe. What did you say the kid's name was?
You know what? Maybe Daniel Yebbett.
Daniel Yebbett. I'm still looking.
Yeah,
it's a lot of kids already. No, he's not on this list.
Okay, he showed up at the camp. Got to participate and like you said, probably accomplished his goal. Where was it that I was?
They did get a commit from the quarterback from Lawton, Noah Smith.
Yeah,
3-star.
So Yebbett has
Daniel.
He's a national top 150.
Yeah, Daniel Yebbett.
He did go on a visit to Iowa on June 4th. Now that doesn't mean it's an offer.
Right. Let's see. He has an offer from Minnesota, TCU, Arizona State, Arkansas, and Iowa.
So maybe some recruiting hyperbole there.
I think OU just had not offered him.
Yeah, that might have been what it was. So, but I'm here in UConn now, so I'll do my best to kind of try to follow what's going on with him. But hopefully the player 6'3", 190, love to have a guy like that in the receiver core, especially if he's got the wheels. And then also on college basketball tick, Deion Sanders announces he's cancer-free.
Good.
So kudos to Coach Prime. And, regardless of your opinions on how he runs a program. He's been one of the big figures in football for 35 years at least. And so, cancer sucks. I hate cancer. I hate to see people suffering with cancer, and we're glad that he's going to be okay. But then also south of the Red River, down at the University of Texas at Austin, All-American edge rusher Colin Simmons on a podcast stated that the atmosphere is a rivalry, but the play on the field has not seemed like a rivalry to him.
Well, he's 100% right. Outside of one season, they've completely stomped Oklahoma. Now that's due to a lot of OU not having a quarterback in 2 of those games, which is wild to think about, but hey, it is what it is.
So 2022 was the split T.
That's when they ran out weight room Willie, and they started the tall kid that's
Bevel or
Storako. He's married to Alex Stracco. Davis Bevel.
Davis Bevel, yeah. In 2023, Dylan Gabriel pulls it off, and they beat on the pass with Nick Anderson in the end zone.
24 Jackson Arnold.
24 Jackson Arnold, who was just totally inept, and the Seth Luttrell offense was in no form or fashion. Plus, that was an amazing Texas defense.
Yeah, Texas was really good.
That defense. And then last year, probably one of the most disappointing was to see an injured John Mateer out there, just not able to. What did he throw? 4 interceptions.
Yeah, one of them they never should have thrown. The one at the end of the half. So he was having to throw the ball with his hand more in a V.
Mm-hmm.
The way that pin and everything was set up. You want to be out here in a nice wide U when you throw a football.
Well, hopefully some players will take, and I know, bulletin board material, I think, kind of falls by the wayside once you run down that tunnel.
Once you start, once pads start popping, it's over.
And Colin Simmons will be a load for people to deal with. But I'll tell you this much also, he benefited also from some of the players. And I know they say Texas is reloaded, but was it Anthony Hill?
Yep.
The linebacker that was drafted, he took, he was a force that they had to deal with also. So
he also benefited from OU not having any established starters along the offensive line.
Yeah. So
ain't the case this year.
No. And then also, I mean, he had some breakout moments last season. I don't know that. I mean, that he's got all the talent in the world, but I think there's still some wait and see on whether he truly is the.
That's what rivalries are, Chuck.
They are.
Let them talk smack. That's great.
Yeah.
That's what makes it so fun.
Yeah.
I encourage it. Just
sure.
You hate each other.
Mm-hmm.
We're not everyone's social media friends now. Screw that.
And that's what I meant to ask Ryan Hyatt, with Texas Tech trying to make their way up to the upper echelons of college football, OU trying to secure, keep their seat on the bus. It kind of feels like the Rebel Alliance fighting against the Death Star down in Austin. It just there's so much money flowing down there, and
but Tech, like your analogy of Tech being the kid that gets in the weight room because they're tired of getting bullied. Now, Tech is the kid that got in the weight room because they got tired of being bullied. Some shady guy offered him some needles and a couple of vials, and they went back in the back room, and now they're just this behemoth.
The Red Raiders are problems. They're juicing. All right. Well, so if we had any Texas Tech viewers onto that one, I'm sure they'll tune out now.
With all due respect.
Yeah.
I'm equating the money to steroids.
That's right. The 11 o'clock.
I would take it every day of the week here in Norman.
Yeah. Okay. So having said that, college football, so much going on. We talked a lot about what's going on with Texas Tech. Also, the funny thing about it is, and I should have brought this up to Ryan also, is, if this whole Brendan Sorsby thing was going on down in Baton Rouge, it would just be kind of like, oh yeah, that's LSU,
but it is gambling on the sport you're playing. Pete Rose died not in the Hall of Fame.
Mm-hmm.
Terry Rozier is probably going to go to federal prison for point shaving. That's what the great fear is and should be, is that somebody gets into him or he gets into somebody for way too much money, and the next thing you know, he's out there throwing pick sixes to guys who are just kind of hanging out on the sideline.
Yeah.
Because the spread's 14.5 and he wants to get it to 8. It truly is Pandora's box.
Mm-hmm. It really is. Some passings this week to mention, and as in the words of Super 70 Sports on Twitter, Super Sky Point, Stacey King, the 1989 graduate from OU, drafted by the Chicago Bulls, ended up being their color commentary on their broadcast. Former Sooner great, part of the great 1988 team, 87-88 team that played Kansas in the finals. He was a dominant big man. I remember about the time that OCU was, I can't remember if they had hired Daryl Johnston or not. No, they still had Abe Lemons and Stacey King and Skeeter Henry and maybe Smokey McCovery. I can't remember. They came to OCU Frederickson Fieldhouse and played in a pickup game with some of the OCU players. And I remember seeing Stacey and 6'10". He was a legitimate 6'10", and 6'10", you notice the guy in the post at 6'10". But what I did notice, and I remember thinking this, is like, his post moves on the collegiate level. Now, it was different when he got in the pros. He played a different role on the Jordan teams. But in the college level, Stacey King's post moves, his junior and senior years, were just upper echelon.
Oh, I mean, he had turnaround jumper.
He had such a great turnaround jumper, and just had great footwork down there. And I remember coming away and saying, because we had some guys at OCU that were good in the post too, and they're just getting blown by. And I remember thinking, the difference in competition levels is what kind of moves you have down the post. You can be 6'10", but if you don't have the moves down the post, it's going to be tough. And he was just one of my favorite players, really, from the moment. I think it was his sophomore year, and he came to OU out of Lawton, played for Billy Tubbs. But I think his sophomore year, they went to Lawrence, and he had a last-second three-quarter heave that I've tried to find on YouTube, and I can't. But he hit a three-quarter shot just on a Hail Mary, basically, and that's really the first time I remember taking true notice of Stacey King. And it was that season before they were so good in 87, 88. But rest in peace, Stacey King. I heard he passed away from injuries due to a fall.
Yeah.
And, that's terrible. I mean, that is just an awful – that is truly losing somebody too soon, and terrible for him to go that way. But rest in peace, Stacey King, Sooner great, Chicago Bull fan favorite. And then also head coach Bob Simmons, formerly of the Oklahoma State University Cowboys. Sympathies and prayers to his family. I'll say this: I was at Owen Field in '95 on the infamous 12-0 game, and
that was such a long season.
It was such a long season, but it was such a punch in the mouth to see all of that orange taking over the stands and then rushing the field. And you knew things had changed. But I'll say this, I'll give Bob Simmons a lot of credit. He had a winning record, I believe, against OU during his time at OSU, which Gundy didn't. Miles might have, or he might have been 500. I can't remember. He got 2 wins. And obviously OU and OSU were down on the national landscape, but he was smart enough to let R.W. McQuarters wear his hat in the building.
Yes.
And that guy changed a lot of fortunes of some OU outcomes that during his career. But I'll say this, I think the fact that you don't just before the end of the Big 12, Jeremy, OU won the majority of the games, but it wasn't like you were lining up and you knew you were going to go hang half 100 on them. I mean, you had to go out and play well. And
that 90s That night, man. Okay, so Gundy was 4-16 overall against Oklahoma. Les Miles was 1-3.
Couldn't be. He won in 01 and 02.
They won in 01.
He won in 02 in Stillwater. That was the Rashawn Woods game. They won 2 in a row.
I thought that was in Norman.
01 was in Norman. That was the TD Bryant catch in front of Roy Williams.
Bedlam series.
That 01 was was it Alonzo Mays or Marcellus Rivers that caught the pass in the end zone?
So I think it was
also Poguy maybe was the quarterback.
Also Poguy.
Maybe it was
Oklahoma State was it's 38-28. 01 in Norman was 52-9. That was less, right? 02.
52 to no, that's 03 in Norman.
Let's where's the that's right.
They won in Norman in 01 because that
was the 16-13
OU out of the Big 12 championship game.
Yeah.
And Brandon Everidge and Andre Woolfolk, I don't know what they did the night before the Bedlam game in 02, but they definitely didn't game plan how to try to defend Rashawn Woods.
Yeah, a lot of that was stubbornness by our defensive coordinator and current head coach of not bracketing Rashawn Woods.
I was thinking it might have been the devil's lettuce there in the secondary.
Not to speak ill of the departed, but it very well could have been.
He was a heck of a player. But anyways, my point being is I think Bob Simmons set the tone that it wasn't just going to be the old Barry Switzer, Pat Jones rivalry where, OU rolled in and you didn't, maybe you really prepared for OSU, maybe you didn't, I don't know. But to me, he definitely gave the Pokes some teeth as far as, facing OU and believing that they could win. Now, did they win all very much? Not really, but enough for him to make an imprint, I think, on the program and set the tone for Les Miles and Mike Gundy going forward. So super sky point for Bob Simmons. His son, Nathan, was a running back at OSU. And, there was, I know.
Didn't he pass away as well?
I might need you to research that.
Okay.
I want, now that you say that, I want to say that you might be correct. But Bob did coach after he was released from OSU. First black coach at OSU and first black head coach in the Big 12. So a trailblazer, Bob Simmons. So, but anyways, that makes it a bit of a rough week.
Nathan passed away last year.
Oh gosh. Prayers for that family and prayers for Stacey King and his family. OU baseball gets a transfer right before they start their College World Series, Jay Abernathy, and then there's another one, a catcher from Pitt, I think, that announced transfers to Skip Johnson and the Sooners for next season. So
it only took another College World Series appearance for Roger Denny to say, okay, we're going to give you guys some money now.
Yeah, that's
so they're going to. So instead of being at rock bottom in the SEC as far as NIL and facilities, they might rise up towards the middle. It's exciting times here in Norman,
OU's got reason to smile and be prepared, and hopefully they can make a run in this College World Series.
He's been doing so much with so little. Just give that man some resources. Let's get a natty. Come on.
It's talking time. Well, pitching will have so much to do with it, and they got great pitching against the Jayhawks and at Georgia Tech. Well, there were some shootouts at Georgia Tech, but man, the offense has really been pounding the ball, and
I'm telling you,
hopefully that will continue. And then,
time of year to get hot, Chuck.
What if they beat Alabama? They likely face Texas.
Yeah.
So. I would love to send that batch of, and that's the hell I live in. Jeremy is thinking that Texas could come away with national titles in both spring diamond sports.
That's the hell we live in. And
what do you think the odds are on Texas to win the College World Series?
I mean, they're pretty good. You're down to the last 8 teams. I could make I can make a case for probably every team except for the 3 outside the SEC because I haven't watched them to win it. But 5 of the 8 teams in Omaha are SEC schools.
Yeah.
And that's wild. I mean, the odds are that an SEC school is going to come away with the national championship.
Georgia and North Carolina are the co-favorites to win the national title with odds of plus 275. So, yeah, just I mean, I'd love for OU to win it, but if they can't, anybody but Texas. That's my motto.
Yeah, I'm kind of getting over the whole. It's just nice to be there.
Yeah, it's time to get
on.
One. You know,
this wasn't the expectation, but after 2022, get another one.
Yep, do it now.
Yep.
All right, so we'll go ahead and start making our way out of here, Jeremy. But man, sure it was a lot of fun, and we want to thank Ryan Hyatt from Ryan Hyatt Media and the Raiderland.com for joining us to talk about Texas Tech. You got big plans for the weekend?
Not really. Family stuff tomorrow. Tomorrow's the birthday,
plans.
So
I like those plans.
Big 51 tomorrow. So
you're 51 tomorrow?
51 tomorrow.
Congratulations. Happy birthday, buddy.
Thank you.
You weren't going to tell me, were you?
Yeah.
You just did, I guess.
I figured you would have got a Facebook alert eventually.
I would. and I am one of the most religious people to send out happy birthdays on Facebook. So anyways, he's Jeremy Schroeder. Wish him a happy birthday tomorrow if you're on his Facebook, and we'll get on the Lawdog text thread or send us a message at Lawdog Sports on Facebook or Twitter, and we will share that with him as well. Thank you for joining me, Jeremy, and thank you again to Ryan Hyatt. Be safe out there. Don't text and drive. Sure don't drink and drive. And please, please, please subscribe to our YouTube channel at Lawdog Sports and follow us on Facebook and Twitter X.